that those thoughts that you're having in your head is something that's living in the center of your consciousness. And because you take orders from it, you're normally lower than where it is in your consciousness. It could still all be in what we call the brain, but you're in a lower quadrant, taking orders from something that's in a higher quadrant that you think is you. So, and I'm not telling a person that they got demons, this is a bad thing. I'm just telling you, this is how Earth's system is working. Like, this is how intelligently vast the system is that we're dealing with.
Because everything in the prism is polarized into its separatism. And that's what's keeping it here. That's what's holding it in a mirror or a crystal. Then when you escape this, when you actually say to yourself, but what is it about that I keep thinking about it if it doesn't exist? Meaning that, who is the prime mover? Look up this term, prime mover. The prime mover or the prime mobile is what they say is spinning the galaxy. And they sometimes, oh, that's God. Or they always give it that role. Who's the prime mover? Us. We are the prime movers. So if we decide not to move into the control point and go into all itself rather than the 7 cards, see, if this 7 system, which is how they calculate the septidecimal on the stock market, is trading us. You see what I mean? Like, look at what we're dealing with here. That's why the knowledge is deep insight. Because if the trading is taking place with this birth certificate and these different certifications that we've agreed to, we've pledged allegiance to, then we become in this system that has set itself up on division. That's why the God is deuce. Right? Divided worlds have uses. This is what we need to understand, and it's understood with our growth. Because then you can look back and say, oh, it took me all that to learn this. And it's over. It's collapsed. And it tends to, you actually brought all of what you've been through into a solid point. It is no longer flying everywhere and flying over everyone. And then when you have it now back in your grasp, that's what you implode with. So until then, there'll be anchors, meaning that we'll
will be that we are the supreme being, even if we do not realize that. But that doesn't stop that from being that way. That's the interesting thing. Just because even if you don't want to be, let's say you don't want to be a human no more, it won't stop you in this life until you kill yourself from being human. There are certain things that you have to begin to accept. And one of those things is the responsibility of being a supreme being who has began to create. Because if you notice here, let's talk about the beginning of the text. The whole issue that is actually going on in books like Genesis in the beginning is this problem with beings creating that don't know what they're doing. So thus, in this first creation, which is supposed to be the unholy act, basically creating something and not knowing how to manage it, one comes forth known as Cain. All this is a metaphor. It's not actually an actual story. It could play out as a story. Who cares? What does it really matter? But the metaphor is, if you don't know how to bring life into three-dimensional worlds and sustain them, then you're going to get a Cain situation. And Cain is the Khan, is the king, is the Cohen, is the priest, because all those words are synonymous. That's the first one that ever stepped forth and said, I am the one, when ones don't exist on nature. Straight lines don't exist in the curve. And then come into the dimension and tell everyone that you will now come to me because I am the Eve angel. Basically, I'm the go-between between you and the source. And this is how all religious traditions are set up, because that's what real technology is. Technology is simply to distract one from the source. We can see that happening with iPhones, but we don't realize that that happened 6,000 years ago with Judaism. Happens, even before that, when the king, who was an androgynous, see, because that's why the word even king and Cain or Kohanim is also Kahin, which gives us our word queen. So we're actually talking about an androgynous being, and that's why you see Baphomet there with the androgynous characteristics, because it is a harken back to Yahweh, also known as Yahweh or the Tetragrammaton, coming out of balance and not realizing that he's not the only one, because there is his mother. And that is a plight of a race of beings that are so much more advanced than where we've degraded our consciousness into. We're still stuck in their progression like pawns on a chessboard playing out a war over and over again that always has the same result. Just like you see Horus or in the hands of his mother Isis to show that the ruler will die back into the womb of his mother in order to bring himself out again. So go ahead and go with the questions, because this is a very in-depth topic. And what happens, though, is if we try to sum it up, that's why it's good to understand the origins of words, which are worlds. When you add an L, which means God, like an L as the Elohim is what's missing to a world, as far as when you talk about words. So when you add that power and that ability to create into something, that's when it begins to manifest, because that was the only use of what we're doing right now. Like, we didn't use words except for bringing things into physical realities. Other than that, we incept. We use our frontal lobe, basically a silent level of communication that's based on intentions, to bring things into realms where they will have the ability to flourish. So, because if you birth something, and let me just tell you why Yaldabaoth was in the condition he was in. I'm not here to tell you that one of these is your enemy. What I'm saying is, when you bring a phenomenal cosmic power into a bubble,
You're getting it? That you have preceded yourself vibrationally, and that you can feel the content of that new you that is in the process of becoming? And are you beginning to really feel the 2 points of vibrational relativity? Vibrationally, where I am right now, in relationship to vibrationally that which I have become? Do you have a problem with the word vibration? Are you understanding that everything is vibration, including and especially you? And that when you are aware that you are vibration, then you can begin to feel for the harmonics of vibrational harmony. Or you will sense the discord in vibrational disharmonic. In other words, everything is about that, isn't it? Do you understand that your emotions are based on vibration? And that the emotions that you feel are your indicator of what you are doing vibrationally, meaning your emotions are your indicator of that vibrational crack between what has manifested and what you're observing and what you're thinking about it and what you're offering vibrationally, and the true vibrational nature of your being? We know there are things that you want, that you believe if you were living, you would feel better in living them rather than living without them. But there is a trap in that thought that goes like this: I'm less happy here than I will be when I'm over there. And since all of your vibrational offering is being offered from here, then if you're less happy here, you can't get there. But how do I feel better over here when I'm not over there? And we say, by looking for things that are over here that also feel good. By caring so much about how you feel that you're willing to work it away, work it around in every which way that you can until you feel the vibrational alignment taking place within you. We've been accused of wanting to teach you how to visualize so profoundly that you're so happy in your vision that whether the manifestation happens now or tomorrow or much, much later, it doesn't really matter, because you're happy in your now. We have been accused accurately because we know that there is nothing that you want that is for any other reason than you think you will be better when you get it. You think that you will feel better in the having of that. You would think you will feel better in having more money, or in having that lover, or in having that more satisfying employment, or in having that happier feeling body. We know that it feels to you that those things need to manifest before you will feel happier. But what we're wanting to remind you is that there is this response to what's happening, which is a post-manifestational response to the action world that is around you. But that is only a fraction of your creative license. If you speed with them. You see how it works? So your future experience is full of all kinds of things that you have launched. Now, this is the part that we really want you to hear. Your vibrational future, your future experience, what's being held for you in vibrational escrow, is all the things that you've been thinking about, the things you want, the things you don't want. In other words, the thoughts that you've been projecting are all about that. And the way you feel is your indication of what you're moving towards. So if you are feeling grouchy every day, ornery every day, unhappy every day, you're moving closer and closer toward a manifestation of something that when it manifests, you're not going to like it. And most of you are going to say, whoa, where did that come from? And we want you to understand that nothing comes out of nowhere. Everything comes out of something that you've been offering vibrationally. And so when we say to you that 99.9999% of every creation is complete before you see any physical evidence, aren't you really glad that your thoughts don't manifest instantly? Isn't it nice that you have all of this buffer and all of this leeway where you can pay attention to the way you feel so that you can move toward the things that you want and away from the things that you don't want? Isn't it nice to know that that thought of ornery is leading you toward more trouble in your life? That thought of overwhelmment, that thought of not being respected, of that thought of you're not being treated well, those thoughts are thoughts that are causing vibrational activation within you that's going to cause a manifestation that when it gets there, you're not going to like it. Your lover doesn't leave you overnight. Your lover leaves you over a long period of time as your relationship disintegrates by one ugly remark after another, whether you're saying it out loud or whether you're just playing it over in your mind. In other words, you cannot continue to beat the drum of things that don't feel good when you beat them without feeling your future experience full of them. And at some point, there is going to be a tipping point that's going to be a manifestation. What we want you to do is to begin to be aware that negative emotion means you're moving towards stuff you don't want. And positive emotion means you're moving towards stuff that you do want. And you just can't get around it. That's just the way that it is. The better you feel, the brighter your future is, and the better you feel today. The worse you feel, the more unpleasant your future is, and the worse you feel today, you see? So, we think we've made our point. Nothing is more important than that I feel good. We want you to say that. Nothing is more important than that